Hello, Eric Mueller here. A couple weeks ago I made a post talking about how you could utilize overlays to help enhance your presentations. Little ones like that there. And the feedback was really good, so what I'm doing here today is walking you through the software that I used, the sources for overlays like this one here, and what it takes to get going so that you can actually utilize these in your Zooms, Teams, anywhere really. Alright? So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and move over to my browser so you can see where you can download the software. Everything's free, and the URLs will all be appearing in the comments after this post. Alright, so that said, let's go ahead and show you what we need. So start off here at OBS Project. This is a open source software available for Windows, Linux, Mac. I utilized essentially a stock install of this. No customization necessary, and just install and get going with it. The other thing we're going to utilize is free overlays from this outfit here, overlays.uno. Now, if you want to understand the history behind them, there's a video here on the left. They talk about essentially what this site is about. Short version is that it's a community outreach site from a company that does professional overlays for news and sports organizations. And everything you see here is free. There is a option for a paid subscriber account, which gets rid of ads and gives you more storage if you have a lot of needs for custom graphics. But essentially, the free account is fine. And inside here, this is a great place to just kind of wander around to see the types of options you have. Lots of filtering options to help you, get to what you're looking for. And you'll notice a lot of sports themes, many of their news themes, some that are entire collections of graphics. These ones that have the title show up in the bottom section there, they refer to those as lower thirds. That's going to be the first one that we experiment with once we get this thing going. So we'll go ahead and bring us back to here, and let's take a look at the software itself. Alright, so I'll go ahead and bring us over here. And when you first install OBS, it's going to look a lot like this, only a little less populated. Right? On the left, we have scenes. These are collections of overlays, really. Just a way to organize your overall presentation. Think of them like scenes in a play, honestly. You can add them, you can change them, you can copy them, you can build upon each other. Sources. One of the first things you're going to need to do to get going and get this far is you're going to need to add your video and your audio. So what you can do is go ahead and under add source, audio input capture. Mine's already up, but when you go through this, you'll go ahead and pick your device on the drop down, whether it's an external mic or the mic off your camera or built in. You should see it on the drop down as a device. Add that, and then once you get the audio input, you'll see the audio mixer with the little green bar lets you know that you're capturing audio. After that, video capture device. Very similar. Video capture device under browser ad or under a source ad. Go ahead and walk through the wizard, and at that point you should see a camera image pop up, and you are off to the races. Other things that you're seeing here, the audio mixer, there are a lot of configuration options and recommendations out there on optimizing this for various scenarios. Go to YouTube, look for OBS audio, and you will see hundreds of videos helping you through that. That's outside the scope of what I'm going to try to do here. Same thing goes for video. There's a lot of places where videos that are out there around recommended settings. I'm using essentially defaults on almost everything here, so nothing too fancy. Scene transitions, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Controls. Over here, if you are streaming, start streaming. If you're recording like I am, start recording. Start virtual camera. This is what really this video is about. When you start the virtual camera, a new device option called OBS Virtual Camera will show up in your Teams, in your Zoom, as an option. In those apps, when you go ahead and do the little drop down to say, okay, this is my camera, OBS Virtual Camera will show up, and everything in this main preview window here is what's going to get broadcast out to that. So that's really how you manage to take these and make them usable there. Alright? That's kind of the short version. Let's go ahead and start adding in some sources. We're going to add in, let's start with bringing back one that I used on the previous scene before when I was showing you my browser. That was a window capture. So I'm going to go ahead and hit window capture. Let me go ahead and turn off. Actually, I'm going to do that one more time. If I turn this off, it gets a little trippy, but now you'll be able to see my pop-ups. So let's go ahead and do a window capture. And we're going to add existing. We're going to add the Chrome one that I already had from before. And if I turn that off, you can see under this drop down here for the settings on that, you can see, how you go ahead and pick whatever window you want to display. So let's go ahead so we've got that up, and now we have this. So let's go ahead and configure one of these overlays and get this in. So when you are looking in the library and you find an overlay that you like, you go ahead and click Add to My Overlays, and even with the free account, it will then show up in your My list. This is where you are going to be able to edit these and configure these to your heart's content. I took a lower third and went ahead and configured it. This is what I was showing you earlier with my name and title on it. Let's go ahead and open this up and show you what it looks like in here. So this is where you go ahead and configure the title, subtitle. There are lots of options in here for picking colors, changing the edges, the various effects and gradients. Different overlays are going to have different options, but you'll see there's an impressive amount of ways that you can go ahead and tailor this to your needs. And then there's settings in here on just how to configure the screen I'm looking at even. Alright? So what is this doing? That was one of the first questions I had. What is this that I'm actually looking at? Well, when you configure these, what Overlays Uno is doing, it is hosting this graphic. And that graphic has an address. That is this output URL. So if I was to go and copy this and just open that URL, you will see just that title. This is the graphic that's being brought into OBS, or will be in a moment. And if you were to change the configuration on the website, that is changed in real time, so that you can, it'd be one way of changing things in your presentation, not the recommended way, but that is essentially what they're doing. Is they are giving you a place to configure these, and then your custom version is being broadcast out via that URL. Alright? So now we still have that output URL copied. Let's go ahead and walk back over to our instance here. And we're going to add a source. It's a browser-based source. So we're going to go ahead and click browser. Just call this title C, or something to that effect. There we go. And for URL, I'm going to Control V and drop that URL in there. So now, let's go ahead and bring back my mug. And you can see that we have this. This is what we just added in. This is coming straight from Overlay Uno's. I'm going to see if it lets me drag the handles a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and move this around a little. If you hold down the Alt key, you can change the size of the handlebars. My mouse has been acting up a little bit lately, so it's going to give me a little guff, but that helps them. Once you have it in place, it's usually a good idea to go ahead and lock it down. See the little lock icon? Once it's locked, then you can't accidentally click and drag it around. You'll also notice that, if you may have figured it out already, the eye icon is a quick way to turn things on and off. Alright. And that's the basic functionality. That's what I got going with. And then from there, I started spreading around and looking to see what other options there were, and came across the agenda overlay, which I thought was pretty slick. And that's what we're going to show you next here. Let's go ahead and go back to our browser. Let's turn that off. And inside the browser, we are going to exit this guy here. and go to this meeting agenda overlay that I have. Now inside here, this is where you can go ahead and configure all the elements of it. The various agenda items. You can add a new day. Yeah, there we go. Add a new subtitle, and it pops right up. This is where you'd also would trigger an animation if you've got one with an animation. I just think that's slick. You've also got, as you had the other one, options for various levels of customization, the colors, everything else. You can turn on and off the preview window, which we're going to do that in a moment here. I'll show you there's a good reason why. But for right now, let's go ahead and get this into our OBS. We're going to go ahead and take the output URL for this and go ahead and bring this in. And it is just another browser based source. So this will be, call this agenda, drop in the URL. And it's here. So let's go ahead and move this around a little bit. I'm not going to try screwing around with the handles. And that's pretty slick, but during a meeting, you're not going to want to go to another website to turn this on, turn this off, advance through the items. So what I'm going to show you now is how you add a custom browser dock. And I apologize for not doing this earlier. I'm going to turn my camera off so you'll be able to see what the pop-ups look like here. Because this is going to be more interesting. We'll go ahead and pop back over here to our browser, and let's start by going over to settings. Actually, no. First thing we need to do, we're going to copy the control URL. The control URL is the one that essentially is the page we're looking at right now, the one where you can turn things on, turn things off, configure them, advance through the various stages of your agenda. So that is this. That is the control URL. We're going to copy that, get that in the queue, and then we're going to go to settings and turn off the preview window. Good, now you'll notice that we're not seeing the agenda. That's for space purposes. And we're going to walk back over into our instance here, and we're going to go up to docs. Go to docs, custom browser docs, call this agenda. Paste that URL in there and see what happens. Alright, so now this is sitting as a pop-up. I want this in my docs. So let's see if my mouse will let me do this. Let's go ahead and, come on. I'm trying to get a hold of it. Sorry, come on. I have no idea what just happened there. Something funky. Let's go ahead and, come on. Come on. You are embarrassing me in front of the wizard. Alright, finally got my hands on it. There we go. So, sometimes the control lock can get a little funky. Let's go ahead and bring back the picture. Turn off. Let's bring this back. There we go. So now, there we go. Inside of the OBS interface, you can go ahead and trigger the animation. There we go. Took a few extra clicks, but we got there. And that's essentially the basics. How to go ahead and utilize Uno, bring in something custom to the browser, bring in custom docs. Like I said, there are hundreds and hundreds of videos out there, many that'll be much better than this one. But the idea here was to kind of give you a brief introduction. All right. So that said, if you like it, hit the little like button, share it to your heart's content. The comment immediately after the post should have all the URLs, plus a couple others that I found that were real handy, including one for scene transitions, which, brief note on this one, there is a custom transition called Move, which, let's see if I can get this one to show. It helps make smoother animations in between things. You'll note that instead of just going blink, 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 you can have things, like say if I have title, and then I have transition, it'll move things a little more gracefully around. I just like the way it looks. Beyond that, that's all I had for you today. Thank you so much.